Hey everyone, welcome to the Intelligent Conversations podcast. Today I have Elliott Greenwood on. He's an incredible guy. I look forward to what he has to say for us today. He's a young entrepreneur just like myself, and he's been in 3 different businesses since 15 years old, which is incredible. From men's clothing to investments to real estate. He's also now working on his new app, Chckup, and it kind of acts like an online vet. I don't know. We'll probably dive into that, and he'll give us more details. But so, Elliot, do you mind telling me how you got into business at 15? That kind of like hit me real. I want to know what motivated you to get in at such a young age.
So I was kind of in a lost, I guess, period of my life at 15. I mean, I know probably everyone was or is. Um, but my parents offered to take me to a business seminar. They just started going to business seminars, and the big hook was that Arnold Schwarzenegger was speaking at the conference, and he was the headline speaker. And I was like, well, of course I want to see. And the way that these things work is you get to take a picture with them. So I was in, at this point, I was actually in 8th grade. I was like about 13. And obviously, Arnold Schwarzenegger is a big movie figure growing up, big fan of his movies. So I was like, hell yeah, I want to go. Also, am I good to curse on this?
I can just put it down as explicit if that's.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just want to make sure. But anyway, yeah. So I was super excited about that, and then I was actually interested in a lot of the speakers, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty interesting." And then my parents got me to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then
Mm,
from there, I kind of slowly started to build, slowly started to read stuff, and then finally, we actually had it was an English class of all things. The teacher was very kind of Robin Williams from Dead Poet Society and was kind of like seize the day type guy. And we had this whole semester project where it's kind of like do whatever you want as long as it fits these like very loose guidelines. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna start a business. And I wasn't just going to make the best project; I was gonna like make it into an actual business. So that's kind of how I got started in business with that. And at the time, I was at an all guys high school, Catholic high school, so we had a dress code that fit in that. And I was just like, ooh, like ties. That's what we started with. Is we did ties, uh, shirts, and then we eventually were going to go to everything else. But that's how I got started.
that that's actually so crazy that you got to go listen to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like I didn't even know he did stuff like that. That's cool that he kind of just inspired you to do that. And I mean, school there's 2 types of teachers: the ones that prove who you're gonna be, and the ones that you just piss you off. Like at the end of the day, and that's cool that you had an
There were
English teacher
lots of
because I've had pretty yeah, exactly. But yeah, so kind of talk me through kind of what happened with the uh like ties you said is what you started with. Kind of how did it evolve into what your app is now, Checkup, right? Am I saying that right?
yes, checkup, correct. So, do you want me to just take you through the whole, I guess, journey? Is that where you're asking?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I'm asking here.
Okay. So the tie business I started and did throughout high school, and actually we were getting some traction, but I started this. I was pretty young for my grade, so I started this my sophomore year of high school and did this through the summer after I graduated high school. So that's 2.5, 3-ish years about. That I was doing this business. And even though we made a lot of progress and I learned so much, uh, my co founder started uh, college and was kind of not really feeling the men's clothing business. He's still an entrepreneur. I mean, he's my co founder in Checkup. So, I mean, we are still very close and are now working on this. But um, yeah, so from there, I kind of was just like, okay, well, do I really want to keep doing the clothing business? And while it's something nice, I do like clothing a lot. My style kind of changed. I think I kind of honed in on the the preppy clothing because that was what was around me, being the school I went to. And then once I graduated, I kind of had no need or not as much interest in that. So after that, we agreed to shut it down. Wouldn't have regretted. I mean, it was a great experience. I would not have traded it for the world, but was then looking at going on to something else. I guess to back up, I actually was not going to school. I put off going to college indefinitely to focus on the business. But then the end of the summer came and everyone started school, and then we obviously were like, okay, we don't want to do this anymore. So then I was kind of like out of my plan that I initially set for myself, but luckily I have, I guess, found myself resourceful and quickly applied to school for the next year. But in the meantime, I kind of was dabbling in other stuff to fill the time. I didn't want to just sit around for a year. So my family had been investing in real estate since 2010. So this was 2017. So I started getting more involved in day to day and doing work related to that, which got me involved in real estate investing, obviously. And I guess
That's a lucrative
to really
business.
hit the highlights, I've been kind of working on that, but also just trying to figure out what's my next move. And there was a point where I was doing a bunch of different things at once, and I realized that that doesn't work. And the only way that you can do that is if you already have everything set in place and you aren't needed, which we were not at for any of these things. So ultimately, I was trying to look for that one thing that I could focus on that was a big idea, and real estate wasn't it, mainly because it's really hard to go raise money to do deals when you're 21 years old and have very little experience, especially for the type that I was trying to do, which was like commercial. I actually in March was trying to buy a 60 unit apartment building. Um, so a mentor of me actually recently spoke. He's been winding down his business, and he told us he was interested in starting something, or he'd love to do something with my co-founder Colin and I, who's my friend in this and in the clothing business. And we kind of just we do monthly lunches, and we were catching up, and we were just kind of spitballing ideas. And then next thing you know, we're like, oh, what about this? And we were kind of mixing a bunch of different business models, but in different industries. And then ultimately we landed on Chckup, which is, excuse me, Chckup is, we've said Expedia. I've only recently found out what ZocDoc is. It's pretty close to ZocDoc. Don't know if you're familiar with what that is either. But basically, we plan to be the easiest way to compare vet clinics and instantly book appointments. That is the premise of what Chckup is.
Okay, so it kind of operates like a travel site, but just for uh, animals and vets type of thing.
It's not as, I mean, travel site, I really mean it in the functionality. It's, if you try and say like a way to connect all these things, that's a harder sell. I mean, it's kind of like the whole point of why we're moving away from using that terminology is that we are kind of like ZocDoc, kind of like Expedia, kind of like Airbnb. I mean, we're actually a lot like Airbnb as well, but all these things, we're kind of just taking this business model and this way that this one industry works and bringing it to an industry that isn't very technologically forward thinking, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Actually, this is kind of what I do or whatever. I'm like, if a business hasn't changed within 70 years, throw them out of business, because obviously they're not willing to change. And again, you took that business model and you put it in an effective way. I mean, honestly, a lot of people can learn from others. Like, you don't need to come up with this crazy, like, unique plan. You can take parts from, like you said, Airbnb, Expedia, like all these other companies, and then implement it into what it is today, Chckup. So I'm kind of just gonna hit you here with a question here that I love to ask every single guest that comes on, and that's if you could share one piece of advice with the world, what would it be?
One piece of advice. I kind of had two things in mind. I guess they go together, but um, the main one is learn from other people's mistakes any way that you can. You will save yourself a hell of a lot of time if you do that. I know I am very hard headed, so I sometimes have to do things my own way, but I have been trying and forcing to change myself to learn from other people's mistakes because I want to achieve success at a massive scale at a seriously young age. And for me to do that, I need to learn from other people's mistakes. If not, I'll be 60 when I finally reach all these goals. So the other part of that is just constantly be learning. Part of the constantly learning is to learn from other people's mistakes. So just make sure, reading up on other entrepreneurs, just reading books and seeing what's worked and what hasn't. That's kind of what I've found is probably the best and most successful piece of advice that I've had in my journey so far.
Can I ask you something? How many do you read on average? How many books do you think you read per year, or like audiobooks type of thing?
That number is pretty inconsistent only because of online courses. Sometimes I'll be on a book phase, sometimes I'll be on a course phase. So it's pretty hard to compare because some courses are really long. I'm probably the few or in the quite minority of people our age who actually like to still read physical books, mainly because whenever I'm like in my car, I'd rather listen to music. So I will actually take the time to sit down and read a book. Um, I probably read. I probably read some books. I can read. I read some books more than at some periods of time and some less. So I'd say I read at least a book a month, at least.
That's a good number.
I know, even though I was waiting around since so at the beginning of building Chckup, being that I'm the business guy and my partners are all software developers, there wasn't much for me to do until we kind of had something to show people. So I was just catching up and just rereading books, and even though I had read about half of them, there was a period of time where I think the quickest I did is I read about 8 to 10 books in a week. But that's all I did is just read. So
you read
and it's inconsistent, but no, I think
you read 8 to 10 books.
Some of these books were 100 pages.
Okay. I was like, that's nuts.
100 pages. And then some of them I had already read. There was like 300 page books, but I already read them before, so I kind of was just skimming to the parts that I knew were important. Because the other reason I like to read physical books is because I underline everything that's important. So when I go back through, I save all the time of just going to see what's underlined.
I think to a way, like, you're right, because I don't know, I read really slow, and for me, I want to just consume as much information as possible. So I'd say I'm actually probably similar to you. I probably finish maybe like 1 audiobook, 2 audiobooks a week, maybe. But
the benefit you get of audiobooks is the speed, because you can turn it up. You can turn up the speed and crush some.
Yeah, you finish a book in like 2 hours, and it was probably would sit down and it would take you 2 days. It's like it's nice,
it's not
but
even that. It's like I can listen to a book on a 1.5 times speed, at least, and still retain it. So that's what I mean by the benefit of that.
The beauty of the internet and all that is it's incredible. And I don't know, I mean, you're obviously going to be ahead of everyone else, because if you're reading 1 book a month, that's what, 12, like, on average. The average American reads 1 book a year, so it's like obviously you're already getting 12 times ahead, and it's just going to keep like compounding on itself, the knowledge. And then that's just going to help you like elevate yourself to a level that honestly not too many kids our age are going to be at. And they're going to be in for a real awakening when they realize, hey, I wish I did this. So you mentioned the online courses. What I haven't actually got into that. I'm kind of interested by that. What do you mean by like online courses? Is it like Coursera, or is it like online college classes, or just something an entrepreneur did?
I mean, it's a lot of just like interesting courses that certain entrepreneurs make. So I know for digital marketing and online marketing, the two best sources I have found for courses is Digital Marketer, which is Ryan Dice's company. I don't know if you know that is. They're out of Austin. They're very innovative in the space of digital marketing. Their courses are fantastic. They really know their stuff. They don't really fuck around. All their stuff is very, very insightful. They kind of give you everything you need. They also give you a ton for free. And then the other, which I would say is more, they're more technical, and the other side is more creative and also kind of like even easier to like just plug and play. But I don't know if you've heard, didn't know who Billie Jean Shaw is, but his company Billie Jean is marketing. Uh, his courses are fantastic, and he actually ran a special last fall where he retired and he gave away every single one of his courses for $57. So I snagged that up, and I've been doing that for the past almost a year now, of all of those courses. And I mean, even though some of the video quality isn't the best and it seems outdated, he's updated it enough to where it's still very, very topical and very useful. So that's what I mean by that. I'm doing one on how to go from kind of like no users to like a million monthly active users, for it's most commonly for software businesses who do this, but it's called Demand Curve, and it's by these VC guys. One of them's name's Julian, I don't remember, but just a bunch of different like entrepreneurs that'll come out with stuff that, I mean, I haven't done any courses by Grant Cardone, but I mean, I've seen some of his courses are probably pretty good. I'm trying to think of some other ones, but those are the only ones I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, Grant Cardone. I haven't done any of his courses, but I've like looked at a couple of his like free stuff, and he's pretty good. He's pretty good. He has some really, oh yeah, his books are incredible. But yeah, so I'm gonna kind of ask you another question here down on the line. But would you say, like, I mean, you've kind of had a pretty unique experience here, but would you say you've encountered any challenges that have been beneficial for your growth as a person?
Yeah, for sure. I think even though I say that we agreed to shut down our first clothing business, I mean, being the fact that I was 17 years old and I had my first failed business is kind of a very good learning experience. Not only because I was able to reflect on it and look and be like, this is what worked, this is what didn't work, this is what I would have done differently. Um, but it's one of those things that I've either started or tried to start multiple businesses, and I'll be 22 in 2 weeks. That's I probably almost either almost started or started 10 businesses, uh, and I'm only 21 years old. So it's the biggest thing I can say that I've taken away from that is each business that I've started, I have I've reflected on what I did wrong, know what I've done differently, and I've gotten each business started and going way sooner than the last. And I've just gotten better at being like, this is what I need to focus on, this is important, and boom, 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 and then next thing you know, uh, I have a friend who is very well connected and has been spending quite a lot of time. He's been spending a year and a half trying to develop his software business, and I know he was kind of like, holy shit, they really did that fast. So June 30th is when we had this idea for Chckup, and we still have a long way to go, but I mean, we're coming up on committing to pursue this idea less than 2 months ago from when this is recorded, or almost 2 months ago, to where we're trying to roll this out. I mean, we rolled the prototype out in 3.5 weeks, and we're looking to start raising money within the next month. So I'd say that it's all been a good learning curve and has prepared me as all these failures to where I'm at now, that I'm kind of ready, and I feel a lot more confident going forward as opposed to the first time I started this. Which I don't know if that answers the question.
So you would say that Yeah, that answered it actually perfectly. So you would say that almost in a way, your failed businesses, like from when you were 15, when you first started, to now, has enabled you so then you're able to produce results quicker and quicker as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, uh I'm in my last year of school for a finance degree, and I've learned more in all of my entrepreneurial ventures than I have in any college class for the most part. I have also we also spent so we prepped for the clothing business for about a year and a half because we just didn't know what to do. Like, I mean, we were fucking 16 years old. Obviously there was a lot of fear and anxiety about this, and by the time we learned more in our first like 48 hours of launching the clothing business than we did in the year and a half that we um, had preparing for it. So I mean, failing businesses is a very I mean failing in business while humbling is a very good learning experience. And I mean, the two best quotes I can give is the fact that there's one Bill Gates quote, even though he's under a bunch of fire right now, about how you learn more from failure than success. And I don't remember, I'm butchering obviously the quote, but it is true, as you learn a lot more from that. And then the other thing is that they say Robert Kiyosaki has a quote that it's like 9 out of 10 businesses fail, so start 10 businesses. And I think that's kind of been my life experience so far. Is I've just moved from business to business to business until one works, um, and it's a numbers game as it is in sales. So
Yeah, I like the quote, start 10 businesses, because I didn't actually, I've never heard that. I've read Robert Kiyosaki's books and stuff. I've actually just never processed or anything, because when I went to school or whatever, kids would always be telling me, they're like, 9 out of 10 businesses fail. You know that, right? And I'm like, fine, I'm going to start like 20 then. Next thing you know, I'm going to have at least one that works. That's all I need. And I don't know,
yeah, I mean,
that's funny that he says that. I love that you brought that up. Yeah, what were you gonna say there? Sorry.
oh no, it's fine. I'm horrible about that. So uh, he also, or yeah, I mean, I went to a college prep school, and 99% of the people that I knew were going to college. So whenever I was telling everybody that I am not going to school to pursue this business, everyone's just like, well, what if it doesn't work out? And then I'm like, I'll start another one. I don't know. Like, that's literally like the mindset, is that it's just like, if this one doesn't work, I have, I'm lucky that I found my calling to business when I was 15 years old. I'm very fortunate about that. And I try and keep that as a not only humbling, but just as a very grateful moment, because I know how many people, I mean, I just had a bunch of friends graduate in May, and a lot of them still have no idea what they want to do in their life. And I'm very fortunate to know exactly what I want to do. And it's one of those that it's just like, yeah, if that one doesn't work out, another one will. I just know this is the thing, whether it's the idea, whatever the idea is.
I definitely agree with you. I feel you there too, because a lot of kids, especially, I don't know, if it's, I mean, you mentioned that 99% of kids are like, oh, why aren't you going to college and stuff? And I've experienced that too. Like, when I said to them though, it was funny, because I'd say, oh, I'm starting a business, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and their mind almost went blank when I said I wasn't going to college, because they're just like, wait, what? Like, there's another option? Like, they'd had no idea, because they've just been conditioned their whole life that, oh, this is what I have to do. I don't know. I kind of want to hear your thoughts, because you go to college right now, or you still kind of just doing
Yeah, I
checkup.
mean, if we're being honest, I absolutely hate school. So if I can raise money, I won't necessarily drop out, but like, I mean, checkup is my main focus, and it's kind of like, it's kind of the trade-off. It's this has to work. I mean, if I'm not doing school, this is what I need to do to work. So I gotta do it. So that's I'm still doing school. I start school actually on Monday. So, um, but yeah, no, checkup's the focus. And repeat the question. Sorry, I was getting caught up on that.
Uh, so what I said was like, would you say that a lot of people? I guess I'm gonna rephrase it here, but would you say a lot of people feel like there's only one option when in reality there's college, you can go start a business, you can trade school, all these other options that are actually out there?
Yeah. No. Sorry. I now exactly know where I was going with this. So one of the things that I take pride in, mostly because I am kind of a difficult person. I think I'm a very easy person to get along with, but like when I say difficult, I mean like I'm pretty stubborn in the fact that I like to do things my way. Um, but and by my way, I really mean more the fact that I like to question why things are done that way. Because one thing that makes me really mad is people will say, "Hey, you got to do this to get to there, to get to there." Boom. And then I'm just like, but why is that the case? Like, why aren't there outliers? And I mean, being that I just read it, my girlfriend just gave me the book a few months ago, and we read it at the same time. So I reread it for the first time in a few years. But um, I consider myself an outlier and somebody very different. And the fact that I like to do things, I like to break the way that things are done. Best example I can give is 2 years ago, no, 3 years ago, I was leaning towards the fact I leaned away from. I started going down the entrepreneurial path, and after the first business failed, I couldn't really come up with another business idea. So I was like, I'm going to go to investing because investing is something that I don't need an idea. I just need to understand how businesses work, how the health of, excuse me, how financials work and stuff like that. And I started pursuing that. And then I eventually wanted to go work for a private equity fund. I really like turnarounds and leverage buyouts, but I was pretty open to any just in the broad blanket term private equity. Well, everyone that I talked to was just like, well, you got to get an MBA or you got to go work at an investment bank for for 2 to 3 years and then they'll hire you or whatever. And I was just like, I don't want to do that because I like things now or I like them sooner. So I was a bit stubborn there, but the thing that comes with being stubborn that's very beneficial is you kind of keep pounding and then maybe that way doesn't work, but you might find a little opening that's somewhere else that you're like, oh, hey, this side route is a lot quicker. So I was networking with a bunch of people and I just was staying on top of it. And the next thing you know, last summer, I got an email from a fund that is in town, and I have been interning there for the past year. So I think that it's a stepping stone. I mean, I'm going to keep the firm private because I know they probably want me to, but um, I'm very grateful to say that I didn't have to do what is the norm to get there. I kind of just found my way through and realized that I mean networking is a very big thing, and I think people would rather hire people that they know than people that they don't know. So if their options were between somebody who submitted an application and me who's come into the office a few times and has talked with almost everyone on the team, I think they would pick me, and they ended up doing that. So yeah.
That I don't know. I kind of want to say something here. Like I think there's a theme that's I don't know. I don't want to say that, but like that's developing here. But from what I'm gathering here, what you're trying to say here is like speed matters. Like how fast you're able to deliver something or find a faster way to do something. That's ultimately what matters at the end of the day. And I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong, but would you say that maybe in a way I'm right there?
No, you're right. I mean, it's one of those things that I'm just a very impatient person, and I like to move fast when I'm moving. I mean, I definitely have my fair share of being able to relax and all, and I know how to enjoy myself quite a bit. But whenever it's go time, it's go time. So I mean, an example of that, like I told you, I really was like, okay, this isn't the first time I've tried to start a business. I know everything that we needed to get the ball rolling. This is everything we're going to focus on. And I think one of the things that I found that I've come to with Chckup is the fact that I guess I found that it's worth my time more to lean into the fact that I'm good at being a leader and just being good at. I'm very decisive. I'm quick at making decisions, and I'm just good at setting the pace, we'll say. So I've kind of settled into my role as a leader. I think very early on, a lot of people like to control stuff, and I have tried to delegate as much stuff as possible so that, and just make sure everyone on my team has everything that they need so that we can keep moving forward as fast as possible. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, speed of implementation is what is going to have a team succeed over a team fail. So, I mean, yeah, I guess speed is the theme here. I guess I never thought of it like that, but yeah, no, I think you're pretty right and pretty spot on with that.
Yeah, well, I think we're gonna begin to like wrap up here. So, uh, what do you want the audience to remember about Elliott Greenwood? Like, what do they want to remember about you?
Um, That's a tough one. Wow. I mean, of course, I want them to know Chckup because that's what I'm trying to get going now and always be branding. But um, I would say that life is too short to not go as big as you possibly can. Everyone thinks I'm crazy, especially because I've been saying this for the past 6 years of my life. But I keep telling everyone I'm going to be a billionaire because the whole premise of what I want to do is once I'm a billionaire, I can have all this fun with all my friends and do all this stuff, give to causes that I'm interested in, be able to actually focus on building a craft that I want, because once you don't have to worry about money, it's great. So I would say go for, if there's something that you really want to do, figure out how you can do it and how you can monetize it, because that's the key that I found when I've been trying to get all of my friends to pursue what they're interested in is you can't just master it, you got to figure out how to monetize it. So yeah, that's the biggest takeaway I'd say is figure out how you can monetize the thing that you care about the most and go for that.
I like that. That's really good. Everyone that is Elliott Greenwood, thank you for coming on. That was definitely really good things that you had to say. And is there any way that you would like people to reach out to you if they listen to this, want to like invest in Chckup or anything like that in particular?
I mean, yeah, you can. For anyone who's interested in anything business related, I'm very active, not posting wise, but I check LinkedIn all the time. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just search Elliott Greenwood, 2 L's, 2 T's. Um, you can find me there. I'm starting. I post a little bit more personal stuff on Twitter, but I do post a lot of business stuff on Twitter. I'm a big meme and music guy, so you'll see a lot of that too. So Twitter's not completely serious, but those are probably the two best ways. But yeah, no, I mean, feel free to message me, DM me on Twitter, message me on LinkedIn. Check out the Chckup website, chckup.app. No E, CHCKUP.app. We will have an app coming soon, even though we don't have one yet. And yeah, we'll be doing big things very, very soon. So thank you for having me on, Josh.
Yeah, no problem.
You have another podcast for me to come on, or need me to come on again?
It's been a pleasure. You have had great things to say. So everyone, that's Elliott Greenwood. As you can tell, he's a very intelligent person. Tune in to next week's episode. Great person coming on. And thank you for listening. And we'll be right back with you guys next week. Let's get after it.